please?
Yeah, we will.
You know, is this on the agenda? Because to me, it's obviously something I've been fighting for a long
big
time.
plant pots in the middle. So
Oh yes, some of the ugly ones that we've got.
I got a question off our website, which has now had over 1,000 about cycle lanes. If you get the trucks off Lowther Road, I think it's wide enough to have the cherry trees back, a cycle track between the other side of the trees, and a lane up and down.
Yeah, I mean, I had this conversation with a young male the other day at the door who initially thought that it wasn't worth voting, blah, blah, blah. And he goes to Cambridge College.
Okay.
And of course, and the
is his
fact
name Peter? Piotr?
Pardon?
Is he Piotr? Peter?
Piotr.
No, it's not Kenson.
No?
Anyway, he was concerned the fact that he would like to see more cycle lanes, and what he sees is, which I think all of us do, you know, you get a little bit of green, yeah, you'll get 5 metres here, and we get 10 metre over there, and you know what it is. Oh look, we've done X number of metres of cycle lane in our county. You know, we know what it is, they've ticked a box. It doesn't do anybody any good at all. And I was saying, but the point is, if you come along and you start saying you need, then perhaps someone can start looking at what we have and we can change what we have. Because he said he's been to places, he said in Europe, where they didn't have cycle lanes and they now have. They had traffic, they've got cycle lanes. The two can go together if it's looked at.
It's too dangerous to really cycle with those HGVs on this.
No, I couldn't agree more. When my husband used to cycle to work when he was based in Northampton at the station here, and he said, and I said, "You dead on that road? You're on the pavement." And I had the kids go on the pavement.
Our dad used to cycle to work in Letchworth.
As you may know, there's been a campaigner on Lowther Road who's been specifically campaigning to get the HGVs off Lowther Road. A report was published last year, which was called the 5-year post-opening report, post-opening Woodside Link Road report. And this basically said that since Woodside Link Road was opened in 2017, which 2022 was 5 years after it, they said that the emissions in Dunstable, in the what's called the air quality management area, which you know is Lowther Road, Church Street, West Street, up to a certain point, had been reduced by 57%. Now, 50%.
Who said this?
Central Bedfordshire Council.
Now, this was an outrageous claim, because in order to reduce the emissions from vehicles to that extent, you'd have to have no vehicles on the road for about a week in order for the air quality measuring devices
to go down that much.
Go down. So David and myself, this guy Dave and myself,
Dave Porter?
Yes, we changed this. And Dave in particular has been taking it on. So he's challenged it, and he went to them and he asked them some questions. He said, okay, can you provide us evidence? Because your report doesn't provide us evidence, it's all made up. So we looked at the figures, and a lot of the figures they produced for these air quality readings are all over central Bedfordshire. So they're taking them from Sandy and Attwell. So we looked into this.
Norville, Salville,
villages. But it gets worse, because we looked into this even more. And in order to provide the information, they had to provide grid references, XY grid references, you know, north and south. So it pinpoints exactly where the emissions readers are. And so I looked at them, because they didn't give the addresses, they just gave the XY readings. So I looked them up. And some of them appear to be in the middle of farmers' fields.
They didn't appear to be
that. Was in a field,
Then John, on his own, spent about 3 or 4 days out, going out photographing the
grid references.
No, he was photographing the diffusing tubes. But actually, he went photographing lampposts.
They should all be on lampposts. And they should all be in a specific spot. And I found that there's about 6 places that I've come out. 6 out of there's 37 locations they've got in their report. I've looked at 25. Out of 6 out of 25, there aren't any of these diffuser or emission reading devices there. So that basically means that they've been falsifying records.
They're lying.
Yeah, so if elected,
Short description.
I can say
the
that.
CBC candidates
resident, they're
here,
lying.
if we all get elected, I think we can stop CBC doing that sort of thing.
Because this is what's really angered me in the
Well, you
last
see,
4 years.
So what's
The arguments I've been having with
So
them.
what's going on from that is that Dave
5 years,
and his mate have gone to see them. They've asked several questions. He's already, you go through several stages. If you complain to the council, you go through several stages. And once you go past level 2, you go to the ombudsman, and then you go to the Parliament, basically.
He's been very thorough, hasn't he?
He has been
Yeah.
very thorough. Now the thing is, he's already accused them of fraud on 3 counts, and it's a criminal offence to publish air quality data which you know is not true. So if he continues with his claims, and then we get the police involved, there could be a criminal investigation. But really, all he really wants from this is to get the HGVs off the road.
Yes.
So if by doing all
If
this,
you can't borrow the weight limit sign off Pointers
yeah,
Road,
but if by doing
just
all this,
recite it.
but if by doing all this, they turn around and say, okay, what do you really want, Dave? Because we don't want to go down the criminal route. You can just say, right, weight limits,
Weight
HGVs
restriction.
off,
Simple.
and then they can, okay, we'll have to do it.
Job done. But none of the residents on Lowther Road are sort of saying they can't have access. You know, so if
We're never saying you can't have a HGV on there.
Exactly.
Because we know, and I know you get the people on social media, come back, whoa, you want your bread delivered, blah, blah. Yes, I do want my bread delivered to Lidl's, blah, blah, blah. I do want Sainsbury's. Those are access. They are, because they're going to be delivering and coming back. But I'm seeing Marks and Spencer's all the time at the minute. Tell me where he's going.
well, actually go through.
He's going to must be going to Lake.
Yeah, no,
And they
fine.
go up to Leyton Buzzards.
Yeah, but so why is he going down the Luton Road?
We don't know.
Because he
Because,
does,
and this, and you remember, he also got mentioned at one of our meetings.
At Pointers Road, because Luton put a weight limit on Pointers Road, so it comes through Dunstable instead.
But don't you remember, it got mentioned one of the meetings in Catherine's Drive, and Liz Jones sent an email straight off to say, why is there an M&S lorry going down the Luton Road?
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep seeing them now, I'm thinking, just a minute, and I haven't had an opportunity to follow them, otherwise I would have.
But our point is, if we stop the trucks going along there, following, we improve the air quality on the Lowther Road, but also in the centre of town, because a lot of them don't go up Woodside.
No, they're going into town.
through the centre of town. So we improve the air quality for the whole air quality management area.
Yeah.
We will push for that. We will push for that.
Can I ask a question? This seems to be a mindset within, say, CBC.
Sorry, I'm sitting.
Is this from CBC office, or is it a political group that are running it?
Dave's complaint.
If all the councillors thought like yourselves, then you could say to the officers, no, you can have to
Dave's
stop it.
complaint is to the council. So he had officers answering his questions. They are culpable. The councillors may not be culpable if they can distance themselves from the report, but they could well be culpable if whoever actually finds in the end, and he is now escalating that to the DFT, and it is a formal complaint with the DFT. But the point about electing us on is we will say to the officers, don't tell lies. Just don't tell lies. It may look terrible. Maybe there are potholes everywhere. Maybe there are potholes everywhere, and maybe we know about this council. First thing to fixing the potholes is to accepting there are potholes there. First thing to fixing air pollution, poor air quality, is accepting there is poor air quality. The first thing to do is understand the problem. You can't fix it if you won't listen to it.
No.
One of the
The
problems
same
you have
thing
as
happened
councillors-
with figures though, don't you remember
Yeah.
when they plucked out the 50%
Yeah.
lorries,
But that's
stopped
just
the lorries
explains-
HP by 50%?
Going on from what Neil was saying, one of the problems is when, and you asked the question about when you are elected, if you're elected to any council, you start off from a point where everything is new to you, but other people who've been in the council, or maybe previous councillors, are aware of how things work, and the council officers know how things work. So when a report comes along, and another report comes along, you think to yourself, I haven't got time to read this report, so I'll just say, yeah, let's pass them through. And this has happened a lot in the current town council, where agendas have been sent out to people, and they haven't bothered reading the agenda before they turn up for the meeting. And so they feel a bit embarrassed if they start asking questions. Some of them have asked embarrassing questions about things, but they feel embarrassed and don't ask questions. And then when it comes to a vote, they just say, yeah, we'll go for that.
You've got to vote with your team anyway.
And this happens in Central Best Council a lot. And if you just pass a report, because there are annual air quality reports produced, and they've just been passing these for years without ever questioning them. And this is the problem with...
We have seen councillors turn up at our council and halfway through say, what is this on the agenda tonight?
Yeah.
You get the agenda about 2 weeks before.
A week. You get it a week before.
So basically what you're saying is then the officers are not informing the councillors.
No, the councillors are being informed, but
read it.
they don't read it. And in the past, that hasn't mattered, because the 18 Conservative councillors, who haven't read it, doesn't turn up and vote for it anyway. So, reading the agenda is pointless, because it's going through, whether or not you like it.
There's no one to argue about it.
Just 2 independent councillors
No.
caused so much argument. We've put sticks in the ground saying, we should be, John put one in the ground a few months ago. He said, over the own parish thing, we should go out and talk to the businesses in the area, the hospitality businesses in particular, the hotels, and ask them if they'll let us know if there's any likelihood of them being occupied, and would they undertake to try and not be occupied by large groups of immigrants or migrants, I think you put it, for the foreseeable future. No. And the basic argument put to us by some Conservative members was, you can't tell businesses what to do. Business is free.
Stop telling them, you were just asking
No,
them.
you're offering a healthy reasonable.
You're just asking a reasonable question, it's not telling them, is it?
We're the town council. We should be in these shops saying, how's it going? How's it going? Is it all right? And when one's having a bit of a rough time, we should give them free advertising and talk of the town. We should go on local radio and say, such and such a business can do with a shot in the arm. Right, that won't save all the businesses. It may not change the centre of the town, but it gives it the best chance, and it lets all the little shopkeepers know we're on their side, which is the first thing they need to know. We're on their side. Maybe we're not strong enough to save them, but we're strong enough to try, sure. We were told no.
We will be after next month.
We were told no. As a town council, we don't do that.
When I was first elected, I was sent my first agenda, which was the Community Services Committee, and we were told that you go through the agenda, you make some notes about things you'd like to ask questions on, and then when you come to the committee, you have to put your hand up to ask, so the chairman will let you ask a question. So I was at my first committee meeting, and I'd made like pages of notes about things I wanted to ask questions about, but things that just didn't seem quite clear to me. So I kept on putting my question up. The chairman of the committee was Gloria Martin, and she said, okay,
I have met.
Councillor Gurney, so I asked my question, and I'd get that explained, and then we go to the next point, I'd ask my question. By the end, towards the end of this meeting, she would just say to me, John, have you got any questions? Now, one of the questions I put to them is, when the council are reporting the statistics of events, they don't actually say the numbers, or they don't actually give the numbers in their Facebook compared to the previous Facebook, how many people looked at something. All they kept on saying is that this event went very well, and this event went reasonably well, and this event went quite well. I said, but can you quantify that into numbers?
I've got a proposal for another event in Dunstable as well, if we get in.
The Festival of Roadworks, that's mine.
We need a motorcycle show.
Sorry?
A
We need a
motorcycle show.
motorcycle show.
Well, there is a
we had a car show, but we want a motorcycle
Yeah,
show.
okay, you have to put that forward.
We get the lorry thing come through as
Yeah,
well.
we do, yeah.
But the
We
thing is,
did, we might cancel
and
it.
then I got them, there was an argument about this. And I said, well, you know, you've got to quantify it, so next year we'll know how many people have come, and it's not just.
So then you know if it's are we improving?
Yeah.
If not,
Yeah, but-
then what can we learn from this? Not just keep sitting there and pat yourself on the back for something you're not sure if
They've
it
never
was
done this before,
good.
they'd never thought of doing that before, and it was like.
One of the frustrating things is, I think all the councillors that we got elected with are good people. I don't know, there's 2 good guys and 16 terrible. I think they're all good people. I think the problem is you get into habits and you get into ways of doing things over years that become, and all the council officers, the experience I've had, all the council officers is they're exceptional. And as John says, just because they haven't thought of it, we don't do it that way. They haven't. I think
I
having
think
a
the
bunch of
analogy
independent
is very similar to when you start a new job.
Yeah.
And you walk into that new job and they start showing you how you do da-da-da, and you sit there and you go, so why don't you do such and such?
Yeah.
Oh no, we don't do it that way.
We've always done it this way.
We've always done it this way. And then you go, so then you sit back and you go, and in the end, if you're not careful, you end up upsetting them. Because you've just walked in,
Well, he's upset
because
with
you've got a fresh pair of eyes, like you, asking all the questions.
Yeah.
You've got a fresh pair of eyes and you're sitting back here and you overlook here and it's like, how are you doing that? It's like, well, just a minute, you could make that better, more efficient, quicker, whatever. What? And it's because, well, no, that's the way we've always
And
done
what-
it. And it's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Exactly.
and what we understand is the way you make it better, quicker, faster, more efficient is to let the officers get on with it. And what the councillors have to do is back the officers and let the officers run as fast as they can and make sure they stay upright. So any councillor claiming any credit is lying, because no councillor ever does anything. It's the officers that actually do it. The officers don't want the credit because they're not allowed to have it. So we have to be careful, and it's something we've learned, we'll all learn. You know, we get on with the officers. I was with him in a meeting last Thursday and I proposed something that 4 years ago he was just shaking his head and told me no.
But they're listening now.
And he went, yeah, I'll take you to the chief executive and we'll see how we would, so that when the new councillors get elected, there'll be an option to change something about the way the council works. Fundamentally change. And this is an environmental thing. 4 years ago, no. 2 years ago, no, I'd have just been told, no, I don't. What he would have been telling me is he would do the work to make it happen. And that is what you're always facing as a councillor or an MP. Telling the civil servants doesn't make them do it. But we've now got to the state of mind where they're listening. And there's going to be a fresh set of minds coming.
Are they listening because of where we are at the minute? Because we've got an election coming up.
I think they're listening because they've had enough of us. And that's just 2 of us.
You have to be careful, because when I was a councillor, they started bringing this 4-year plan out. Now on one of them,
We've got them.
because I was there when they started it, on one of them, David Ashley had put down an open space officer. Now Fury said, "Oh, what's this aimed on?" Dave actually burst out laughing. John and I thought we'd put that one and get away with it.
Yeah.
Now secondly, and this is very important, we had a meeting with the council's solicitors. And I asked a direct question, who decides what the council does? And her answer, because it was Roger Peckwood was there as well, her answer was, the councillors decide it. And provided it's legal, the officers have to carry out their instructions.
Yeah, absolutely. But
And that was
they will
what-
carry them out at the speed they want to. So you can decide that, we could decide that we want trees all along the road and cycleways and it's all glorious and all the residents are for it, everyone's for it. If the officers want to do it, they can do that in a month. If they don't want to do it, they can take 4 years and wait for another council.
Yeah, then you can
Perfect
question.
example for this is the Mooga. We, in the new corporate plan that was put forward in November 2019, so it was 2020 to 2024, we put forward the idea of having a Mooga. Now we actually said a feasibility study to build a mooger in one of the parks or recreation areas of Dunstable. And the majority of councillors agreed that that would be a good idea, so it got onto the corporate plan. But when the calendar of when things were going to be done came out, which was in January 2020, the feasibility study was to do it by April 2023, which would have meant if they'd have done it then, it wouldn't have happened because it took 2 years. So in order to bring it forward, I asked one of our local residents, Alan Daniels, to ask the question at the town meeting in 2022 to 23-1, not sure. Anyway,
I think it was.
2020.
Oh, it was 22.
22, yeah. To bring that feasibility study forward and do it during the summer, because there wouldn't be a lot of events going on, because we'd cancelled all the events. And they did. So they brought the feasibility study forward, and then a working group was set up, which Kenson was on, to find the best place to put the mooger in. Then it was 2021, because last year, 2022, I asked Melissa Daniels to go and ask again and say, right, when's the mooger going to be put in? Because obviously they've got young children. And then they said, well, the working group is going through this, we're trying to get it done. And now it's likely to be built during the summer. There's been a delay because they're trying to investigate issues with sound or noise or whatever.
Noise Abatement Society was involved.
So in real terms, that would have taken just over 2 years, but from when they actually started doing the work. But if we hadn't sort of kept an eye on that,
It could be another 4 years.
It could have been another 4 years.
I think when we roughed it into the town plan, they didn't accept. We had about 100 ideas, all good ideas like benches in parks, more dog poopings, loads of good ideas. No, we didn't get anywhere with very many of them. But this was one that we were getting angry about. They did it. But I think the plan was stick it in the plan and ignore it. That will shut them two up.
But now the Conservatives are taking credit for it, or they're
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
that's
can have-
for their leaflet. Yeah.
One of my points about being a councillor, I don't want any credit. In fact, I'm quite happy to accept that I have done and achieved nothing. Just these things have happened while I was there, which is the only important thing. It only matters what happens, not who gets the credit. But as we went on through those first 18 months, someone was really noisy, I'm not going to tell you, and kept moaning, and he kept getting back up from his mate, his brother, and they gradually sort of went, oh, okay, yeah, this mooger is a good idea. And we did get some support from local residents who said, yeah, we would like this mooger. He already knew that, I already knew that. He knew that because he went and asked the teenagers.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's that thing again, go and ask the public what they want and then do it. And eventually they started to crumble, and they've also been putting in park benches. Even though they told us that people didn't want more park benches.
Through the town centre.
You've actually explained
I
something
didn't realise
to
it
me
turned into
in a way that's made me feel a bit sorry
the park.
for one of our
We did
councillors.
pay for park
Because I'm now
benches.
realising he couldn't come up with the answers of some of the questions I've been nagging him about, you know. Because, as you say, he can ask the question, but he's relying on someone, officer, to go and get those
Yeah,
answers.
well, I had a conversation with the two senior officers to do with grounds outside the back of the Grove House, and they were dead against it right at the start, dead against it. And I said, well, why? Oh, they make a lot of noise, and there's a lot of noise associated with what? A lot of noise with people running around on grass. I said, well, there's two great football pitches in most of our parks. So are we doing away with football? Because put the football on a Sunday make a lot more noise than the booze.
Well, they do, because all the lads on the pitch and everybody on the side.
So not only in that park, in the other parks you could have gone in. They've all got two football pitches in. Ridgeway's got two. And if kids go and play in the park and make a noise, is that a problem? And they both stood there looking at me. I said, sorry guys, you've just told me that parks can be noisy places when they're full of children enjoying them. And they both sort of looked at the ground and sort of went, oh well, I said, ask the people, go and ask the people
Will be affected.
what they want. I said, because I know what they'll tell me. They'll tell me they do want areas they can comfortably play.
Yeah, you can
The
never
owner
have
will
too
tell
many
me
parks.
she wants somewhere for her kids to go to the park and have fun. I mean, I've got a huge, great big garden. Doesn't really matter to my
It's not the same, Tom, I've got a big garden, but that's not always the attraction, is it? No.
Well, I mean,
I think one of the problems we've got though, we've had with the council when we first came in, and it has changed, is that they didn't really like telling people what was going to be on the agenda. They would basically say, well, we put it on the website, you know, it's up to them, it's up to everyone else if they want to read it. And then what was happening is that more often than not, decisions would be made, and then those decisions would be published, and then about 2 months later, 2 or 3 months later, they'd be implemented, and at that point, everyone would find out what's going on.
but
So what I suggested is that what we do is we come up with some kind of calendar, and then we announce that this is all the things we're going to be looking into over the next 6 months. And I said that when the next council gets elected, what I'd like to see is once we've got a corporate plan, we divide it up into 6 months chunks, and then we announce those 6 months in advance, and we publicise those things on the council website. I'll do it on my Facebook page if they don't. About this is what we're going to
and
do.
I want to see us, before we form the next corporate plan, I want to see us go out to the public.
Yeah, no.
Guess what I want to do?
Ask some
Find out what they
Yeah.
want.
Well, that's what
Because
we
if
did
they
before.
don't want park benches, fine, no problem. But it's one of the things a lot of people say to me, there aren't enough dog bins. This is when I'm in the park. And I don't go to the parks a lot, I'm not obsessive about it, but I do. When I'm there, I talk to people and they say, there aren't enough. I can bench you still. And, I've got this bag of dog food that I've got all 600 yards.
See, that's the great thing about Lowther Road Park, because there's one in every corner of that park. Dog food bin in every one. I've been trying to get some, because we're responsible, Central Beds Council is responsible for dog poo bins up at the Downs. I don't know if you're aware of that, something I learned. So they built that big extended car park. Do you know where the nearest dog poo bin is?
Oh,
Over by
on the
Discovery Centre.
downs, you mean that
Right?
on the downs?
Or it's down by the woods. So you've got people that come out of there, they're walking the dogs and everything. I'm one of them, right? Now, I'm responsible. I don't dump my bag down there or hang it in a tree and wait for the poo fairy to come along and get rid of it, you know. But the reality is, they don't do anything to encourage people to go and, because there should be a poo bin by that car park.
Yeah, of course.
Liz agreed, and she had been going back to say, but no one's listening. And it's not a big thing to
Well, that's
us,
the first
but it's a
thing to
big
do.
thing to make a difference.
We have to reformulate the town plan in this coming year, this current year. And we want to formulate it to what the people want. Now, traditionally, as we did it last time, we didn't leave Grove House. We did it in Grove House in little groups.
No, what we did was, they said to us before the summer break, come up with some ideas of what you'd like to put into the corporate plan, and they suggested different things with different
More quickly, stop it
different
with
types
it.
of things. So I went out asking people, and that's how I asked the teenagers during the summer, and Kenson did. And what we did was, we put together about somewhere between 12 and 20 ideas, and we discussed them, and then if we agreed that those were reasonably good, we then costed them, and then I sent them to all the other councillors before we came back in September. So they had a good idea of what we were interested in. But as Kenton said, most of the ideas were just rejected out of hand
But
and outvoted.
even this idea, having meetings, listening to the public, which is actually very easy, as you can see, they don't think that's a good idea.
I know, they think the residents are stupid.
They
Don't
do.
go and ask them what they want, because they're stupid.
They think that, well, they think you're stupid, they think you're aggressive, they think you're ignorant, and I'm like, that doesn't sound like the public to me, that sounds more like the councillors. When I say that to them, they get right out of their tree with me, and I'm like, carry on, shout at me, tell me that I shouldn't go and listen to the people.
You're supposed to do things to serve the community, though.
Yes.
Is that the purpose?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Exactly, all those candidates,
That's why
they're all
I think,
pleased.
you know, they don't know.
all four of you tell me, you're all pleased that you're going to have a public meeting and listen to the public. You
Question.
want
That's a
to.
good one.
You've got these meetings this week, okay? Prior to the election. So why did Dunstable in Touch write that they couldn't do their in the quadrant because it's the election?
Because there's a surgery, that they are surgeries.
So why did they call it a meeting and then they could have it?
No, they're not meetings, they're surgeries. What they do is they get their councillors to stand in the middle of the quadrant with the local MP. And then what predominantly happens is you'll get one or two residents who will go up there and they'll be surrounded by the councillors.
I would think it would feel very,
Intimidating. The idea
Yes.
is, so if you were a Conservative,
you know, I'd be quite happy to go and do it, but you know, I don't particularly want it.
would you wear a, I mean, wouldn't that rather be like wearing a target on your neck at the moment?
The thing is, surgeries, I mean, if someone wants to contact you, contact me, then they can. Our email addresses are published in Talk of the Town, council email addresses.
My address is published.
Some people have got my address as well.
His address is
Some people have their phone numbers in there as well. We've also got additional emails that we've set up since then, and people often contact me on instant messenger on Facebook asking questions. I've had several people knock on my door. So the point of holding surgeries, I think, is pointless because any resident can contact me at any time and ask me about anything, and I can
Or come to our open meetings.
ask the question. So open meetings would be much better because then you get a discussion going.
And what I've seen with these 16 other councillors, as I say, I think they're people who are as good people, me and John, but they're in political parties. And the problem is once you're in a political party, you're going to work within a gang mentality. And then you get factions breaking out, and then you get rivalries, and you get likes and dislikes, and one of them has joined us, or left the Conservative Party and become independent, right? He hasn't joined us, but he's more aligned with us, he's disaligned with the Conservative, exactly because of that, because he could see that being in a party, it doesn't matter which party, it doesn't matter what it's called, the fact that it's a party restricts and restrains you and makes you a bad person. Because you've got to do your political infighting in your party.
But the other thing from that, from public meetings, is that because political parties have leaders and a leadership team, once the leader and the leadership team have made a decision, having any further discussion on it is pointless. So
It's not going to happen, is it?
So it's pointless for political parties to hold public meetings because they're not interested in what you want to say because they've already made the decision.
Yeah.
What we want that to be changed to be, okay, we've got, for instance, we've got rid of the fireworks. We never have fireworks again.
Well, we didn't get rid of the fireworks.
No, the council did. We were on the
I voted
council.
against that decision.
I know. We're on the council. Got rid of the fireworks. What if we find out that in 10 years' time, 90% of the people want to have a fireworks display once every 10 years? Can we not say, well, maybe we got this wrong. Maybe we got this wrong. What is the problem with councillors saying, you know, I thought this way, but now I've listened to what Neal said, maybe I'm wrong.
They've done it with the road, though, haven't they?
What's that?
Not
Change
quite.
their minds.
No, they haven't quite. No. What's happened is the road surface put down was not the road surface that should have gone down. So they can hide behind that by taking it up and use that opportunity to change it back to the way it was because they use the other thing of saying traffic patterns have changed. We know traffic patterns haven't changed. And they haven't stood up and gone, we got it wrong, we're really sorry. What they're doing is they're hiding behind that. But they're also changed about when that's going to happen now as well.
So does this mean
Because that was
the
going to be
contractor-
March or April.
Does this mean the contractor will be paying for the research?
The contractor apparently is paying for it because it was their response.
Apparently
What's
it's
happened is
Apart from the little white paint.
there's sensors under that road, apparently, that surface, and they're not working because it was the wrong surface put on the top.
That's not
Hence,
true.
this is what they're saying. But the
They tend to
reality,
do differently, but
you know, but that's
Most sensitive
that, what's
thing
what
to
they're
do,
hiding
not
behind And then they're going, traffic patterns have changed. We know traffic
See,
patterns
this is
haven't
where
changed.
I'm fundamentally I'll never be in tune with traffic patterns, because I believe freedom is the fastest way forward to better things. So I think if you put, this is my belief, zebra crossings give you better traffic flow than traffic lights. Traffic lights cost you more to maintain than zebra crossings.
You mean you only have to stop when someone's there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you react to the
I
situation, not have it pre-planned.
If you're lucky.
I don't
They stop at the zebra
I
crossing.
often
Yeah, but
go,
I've seen people haven't.
Yeah,
Oh,
I often go at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I spend a lot of my time waiting at red lights that are stopping only me.
Yes.
So I think, what's the point of this? But yes, with freedom comes responsibility, and that's what we have to get across to the drivers and the pedestrians and the cyclists. You have to be more responsible. But if you can show them, we can improve your life, we can improve your traffic situation, if you are more responsible, then we can make progress. But it's a chicken and egg situation, although we know which came first, the chicken came first. Let's be clear about that. Scientifically, the chicken came first. It's a fact. It's like if a tree falls over in the woods, is there any noise? Yes, of course there is. So chicken and egg situation where, do we trust the drivers before we take it? We can't do one without the other. We have to take the traffic lights away and put up an open big sign saying, you are responsible. You are responsible. The technology...
Well, we were, because we didn't have any traffic lights. We used to have 2 roundabouts.
Yeah.
And it worked fine. You've got people went, oh, I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. It's very simple.
Right.
2 roundabouts. You judge each roundabout
If you
as a
don't know
roundabout. Simple.
how to
It
go
worked.
round a roundabout, you shouldn't be driving a car.
Yes.
And we can easily put up, and we actually already have them up, CCTV recording everything that goes on around those crossroads. And we should be saying to people who can't drive, you can't drive. You're blooming dangerous.
95% of the people off the road.
No, we don't have to get them off the road.
I
We
tell you
have
what,
to
if
get them.
you turn those lights on, the traffic would still move, because people would just
No,
have
the
to
traffic
slow down
would
and
move
take
better.
time
Do you know
to
what's the
get
funniest thing is, and
You won't
John
go in the
was
road.
there, was that first meeting I went to when Nigel Young stood up and started to do his spiel about what was going to happen in this town. He actually said it moved the best when we had the oil drum. He actually said that.
Yeah, first-
and I
first
don't know if
oil,
he's
they
even
do it.
realised what he said, but it was true.
Because the drivers were making conscious
Their own
active
decisions.
decisions.
But you also have, when you learn to drive, give way to traffic rules. Right, there's a certain rule, there, it's in your head, blah, 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 you've got given it, and it's still there. It's there 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago. And the oil drum was just something that sat in the middle while they were waiting to take away the double roundabout. But it worked. And it's like when lights fail, what happens? The traffic moves, doesn't it, still?
Kenson mentioned living in Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic now. We both lived in a city which is about the same size as Dunstable. It's where they build the Skoda cars. And what they have is they have a crossroads similar to Dunstable. And what they do is after 10 o'clock at night, traffic lights just go on amber and just flash. And that goes all the way through to about 6 o'clock in the morning. And that's during the weekdays. In the weekend, they're just like that all the time because there's less traffic. And they don't have any crashes because people just approach the approach
Just a bit of It's not when the traffic lights fail, isn't it?
One of the things I will be doing, if I get to be a CBC councillor, is getting numbers. Because I think you can buy the sets of traffic lights for like 50 grand, but they come with a support contract that costs £114,000 a year per van. So I want them to go away simply because you can save millions of pounds.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
I
like bring back
accept.
the oil drum.
I accept. As part of this, I've got to get the drivers to drive more responsibly. But I can put it like this to drivers: either you drive more responsibly for the next 6 months, or you see how many traffic lights I can put in.
Yeah.
You know,
it's meant from Italy.
The point you're making is very valid. I mean, okay, Woodford Road, Luton Road, Hickory Avenue, that set of junction is quite interesting. It's all staggered, but the lights fail.
and it
What
works
happens?
better.
The traffic doesn't all stop
No,
and
it keeps
nobody goes anywhere.
It works better
It
than-
all
There
works,
is no
but
traffic.
everyone just takes a little bit of caution about crossing
There's
over.
no lights, traffic, there is
It
no
works,
traffic.
doesn't it?
It
It
does.
just proves your
And
argument.
it worked for, well, 4 years of my life.
The thing is, traffic planners want
Oh.
Right, there's two
Yeah.
approaches, there's
should
two
we-
approaches to
And the other
go.
thing that Nigel brought up at that meeting was why they were taking all the balustrades away. Do you know why? Do you know why they took them all away?
I
Because
scrap
people
paint.
could make their own choices about where they wanted to cross the road. He actually said it.
Yes, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So that's why all the fencing and railings
And
have
my
gone.
belief,
So you can make your own choice where you want to
where
cross.
I am a councillor,
But then they put the bollards back up to stop people parking there.
Yeah, I-
because they didn't put the AFB cameras up.
Yeah, I know.
And
But
you use
the
pedestrian
point was the
crossing.
common
and
sense
then
was
run
actually
over,
there.
take it to the middle.
I didn't realise it.
But it is my belief that the more you trust the people, the better the result you get. It's as simple as that. But we are the people. The people are us. It is their road. And we have to trust them to use it sensibly. And you see it in London, when you go to London, cyclists don't stop at red lights. They just stop flying through.
Mind you, you talk about Czechoslovakia, you have to go to Germany because it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It doesn't matter if they decided when there was a petrol shortage and there was going to be no cars on the road on a Sunday, right, there was no traffic on the road on Sunday, people still stood at the side of the road and waited for the green man to come across the road because that's the way they are. That's what happens. The lights work all the time and people follow them. But then it's a different type of culture and a different thing. They're a bit more institutionalised.
Freer now than it was.
Yeah, but they still, honestly, they still only cross when the green man said, and God help you if you try and cross the road when, because I tell you what, they'll pull you back there.
But people understand, I've seen everywhere that the drivers understand how zebra crossings work, and I very rarely, probably, I don't know, if you're waiting for someone to cross the road, I would say in nearly every case, drivers wait until the person's got to the other side, even if you're in the right-hand lane and they're trying to get across to the left-hand lane, they wait until they've got across and then they drive on.
Yeah.
Well, I
So
think
people know those rules,
Yes.
drivers know those rules, and so therefore, if we had zebra crossings, they would know that as soon as someone steps onto the zebra crossing, you've got to stop and you've got to wait until they get across.
The only issue you can have, and I had this with in communities of London, is that if you've got too much pedestrian traffic, the traffic will never move. Because you've got loads of street, that's when you need traffic
well,
light control.
you need to
pedestrian
get
crossings.
to an understanding where the pedestrians realise that they are as responsible as the car drivers.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you have to leave.
Somehow,
there's a lot
I
of
think
pedestrian
certain
traffic.
people get out of the car and they leave a certain part of their brain in that car when they start walking. You see them in car parks all the
Yeah,
time.
you get
You know, you just drove in here. Why are you walking in front of all these cars? You know,
But that-
did you get out your car and leave your
Surely
radio on?
pelican crossings are a better way all round.
No, because they're really, really
Because it's
expensive.
controlling you still.
It may well be expensive, but what is more precious? Human life, more few bolts. I've seen zebra crossings.
There are studies that
The
show
one in
that
the
zebra
outside-
crossings are
The
safe.
one in the outside priory gardens,
Here,
there's zebra crossing there, where people are trying to get cars are being stopped continually because you've had one pedestrian come out, another one, and another one. And there's no cut, but if that was a pelican crossing, where everyone's lights controlled it would give the motorists a chance.
Yeah.
That's where everybody's got to be responsible. You can't have irresponsible pedestrians because that's just as bad as irresponsible car drivers.
Yeah, but pedestrians are protected by the law every which way. But even if you jumped out in front of you on purpose, it'd still be
This-
your fault.
And this is why.
well, they've changed it, isn't it?
Pelican
Because at the
crossings
minute
are
they've got more rights, like when you're crossing, like, or turn a corner. You know, if
Yeah,
they
it's a
happen to,
junction, yeah.
they might just happen to be there. You're not sure if they're going to cross the road, but you just need to be aware of the fact
Yeah,
that
you
they
need to be
might.
aware.
Basically, if the pedestrian just wandered into the road, it's your fault if you hit them.
No.
No, because they're all responsible for their own safety.
Yeah, they are.
This is
In
the thing
theory,
that
they
I so create that hierarchy of pedestrians, cyclists, horse riders, motorcyclists, cars, lorries, trucks. Yeah, but every single one of those people and those groups are still responsible for their own personal safety. Just because you think as a pedestrian, right, I can walk out in front of that car, he's going to stop. If If he hits you, and you've walked out of that car, and for
It's
no
not very well
reason
saying
whatsoever-
I was in the right, is it?
No, yeah, but if you think
Because when you're being carried off to hospital, I was in the right.
And pedestrians,
Yeah, no, they're gonna.
pedestrians do need training and helping to be responsible for their own safety.
Yeah.
The point being, if they start being responsible for their own safety, they'll be an awful lot safer.
Yeah, that's,
And-
do away with the smartphone zombie signs.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It is. And it is a challenge. It is a challenge. I accept it as a challenge, but I still think you want the best for everyone.
Yeah.
And the best for everyone is they're making their own decisions.
I think there could be, personally, I think there could be more zebra crossings where we have traffic light crossings, pelican crossings. Like the one out here used to be a zebra crossing and now it's turned into a pelican crossing. And I don't really see the point because traffic doesn't flow that fast. So
No, it doesn't.
going back to a zebra crossing would probably be better for the flow of the traffic into the town centre. Similarly, we could have a zebra crossing on High Street South
One on High Street.
between.
No, this is the owner's crossing.
The owner's
Yeah,
crossing,
right.
it's called. It's out, if you go from Albert Court across to the other.
To the Vauxhall car showroom.
To be honest,
Oh,
I
down
hadn't
there.
thought about Albert Court, but now I'm glad you mentioned it because that validates it better than just.
But if that was a zebra crossing there's no need to have it as a pelican crossing
No.
because you've got traffic lights further down the road.
So,
traffic lights
on that-
Well, I'm thinking.
All I
you
know
might
is
anyway,
it's
so
never,
it
it's
works.
never green for when I want to use it, be it pedestrian or car. I always get red light.
But when the owner
Not
suggested
maybe
it,
you, yeah.
I went and parked
No,
there
it's
for half an hour and
one by
watched.
the discount as well.
And there were 4 or 5 people who crossed the road in that area and took a bit of a chance.
Yeah, you do.
Now, drivers stopped for them.
Yeah, they do.
It was
Was I one of
irresponsible.
them?
It was irresponsible of
do.
the pedestrians, but the drivers still stopped for them.
They do.
So having a zebra crossing there would make very little difference at all, except it just tidies up the rules a bit. I'll give you the stats. 10 years ago when I looked it up, the zebra crossings were slightly safer than pelican crossings or light control crossings. At the moment, the latest stats, which are 3 years old, show that pelican crossings are slightly safer than zebra crossings, but it is a very small amount. A far bigger safety factor is refuges. Refuges make a far bigger difference than whether they're pelican, zebra or any light control crossings.
Well, if you've got a wide road, you
It's
need
a
that.
refuge, that little
It is
safe
the
bit in
refuge
the middle.
that
Taking
saves
half of the
lives.
lane at a time, basically.
Well, it
Yeah,
simplifies
just
it.
bollards either side,
Simplifies it for the drivers because it tells you, you know, refuge triggers your brain to start thinking.
Yeah.
So,
Assume
Even
someone
one of,
not-
even
aware.
one of those actually.
well, the owner fancies having a crossing. It's quite wide. We can have a refuge, 2 zebra crossings, and we've got a 20-mile-an-hour zone in Dunstable now. When you come down that hill,
As
there's
we
a lot of people who won't see the 20-mile-an-hour sign. So the locals will be fine because we all know where the 20 mile. But people travelling through won't know about the 20 mile. A nice zebra crossing with a refuge and some 20-mile-an-hour signs, nice triggers to tell people you're now off the A5 and you're into the centre of Dunstable. And then that way we can start making changes to the town. That are not
Where's
only-
this area you're on about?
Once the discount.
You know,
Oh, I know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
in that area,
Oh, right, yeah.
what the owner sees is school kids coming home from school,
Yeah.
piling up, and I see this because you get the idea. I drive around the town. I know the worst roads in Dunstable. Kirkstone Drive, Durban Drive. I'll tell you, they're not as bad.
I think you live in the road that I use as a cut through. King Road? King Road, yeah.
I knew your
Sorry.
road had been repaired before you posted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, on that, it's one of my little entertainments in the mornings and the evenings. You know, I know where some of the problems are, not all of them, but some of them. And as I say, I sat there for half an hour. I was going to pick the children up from school, because I do every day. And I just thought, I'll have an half hour watch. I just left work half an hour early, my boss doesn't mind. And you see it, you get a feel for it. So I can see there an island, a nice island with some wood and, you know, bushes or something. Well, you design it. I don't mind who designs it, but
So
we
what's
can
this on sundown?
A bench.
Not a bench.
No,
Not a bench.
Sorry,
The
what is
cafe.
that one?
what is high street? It's actually London Road by there, I think. But you know, we could make it attractive. A Dunstable gateway. we can make it an attractive thing, a positive thing, not a negative thing. And it can be.
One of my neighbours said she done something which is awful at the moment. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, and what I want to do
Apparently
is
there's
come
new
up-
signs which aren't very nice.
Oh, those signs. They're
I haven't
just,
seen them yet, I don't think.
there's just plastic signs.
But I
They're
would
so
say-
disappointing.
For the zebra, whoever is responsible for designing the current structure, don't let them play any further roles in the designing in the future. Yeah, because it's not good.
The
It's
chap
not good.
that spoke to Susan, I think is the same bloke. Anyway, I got an email from a Polish lad, Piotr, I can't remember his surname, and he said he wanted to cycle on. So, and he's a Cambridge student. And I wrote back, if you get a Cambridge student at university, I can do better than promise to look into this for you. You can design it. Oh, well, I'm going back to university, I'm too busy. And this is something we should do. Where people say, well, we want this, well, you design it. If you design it, show us the design, don't tell us.
I don't know about that because see, sometimes, often, if you're in a company and you ask a question, if you've got a company meeting and you put forward a suggestion, the way that the hierarchy of the company stop you from doing anything is saying, okay, that's a great idea, you go and do it, and you think, well, I don't really know how to do that, so it never gets done. So I really think that it would be a case of saying, if you'd like to be involved in that, then come forward and we'll get you involved in that. But I don't think it would just be, you've got to do that on your own. I don't think that's really fair.
One thing I would like to know is, because obviously we have the metal and wood benches, which obviously going to need upkeep. Why didn't they use recycled plastic? You can get plastic benches.
They weren't supposed to have them anyway.
Basically,
They only came along to stop the cars parking on the white
maintain them.
They weren't in the original plan, all of these. And this is added to stop the cars.
All of these benches,
Or pedestrians trip
They
over
were
when
to
they come off
stop,
the
they were to stop the cars from getting onto the
all
white.
of the wooden bollards, all of the
Street furniture.
benches, all of the chairs
Yeah.
put in, and the rusty
Yeah,
and the rusty looking pots were all put in only to stop cars parking on the pavement.
Oh, really?
Which
And
the railings would have
did
stopped in the
you
first
know
place.
why we had wide
That was
pavements?
the reason given.
The
Because
benches.
apparently we asked for them because we wanted a cafe culture in this town.
There's no cafes.
No one was asked, actually no one was asked at all.
Well, I'd be interested to see if they allow
But a certain
Six-
councillor is the
six-
one that
seats
spouted
on
out
on
and
the
said
path,
this
because
is
the
what's
local
happening.
sweet shop.
And then the wide pavements
Yeah.
became, free parking. Right? We ain't going to get the other way, we're getting it this way. So then they had to do something so they had, let's put a couple of bollards there. No, that's not working. Let's put two more. That's not. Let's put a few pots. That's not working. We'll add a few chairs as well. And they've had to keep adding.
Well, the wider pavement
the
was
strange
to
thing is-
accommodate cycle lanes. But you see, the chap from Poland kept telling me about Holland and Cambridge.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, fine. What about Japan, where they just cycle on the pavement and ring the bell?
Yeah.
And they do. They cycle at full speed.
They do in Holland.
You can get out there.
Different though. Holland is different though.
Yeah,
because
it's
if
just
you've
a
been to
different
Holland, if you've been cycling.
If you go to Holland, if you're a pedestrian, I tell you what, they will knock you over.
I know that.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
there's no ubiquitous.
Cyclists are priority.
The strange thing I've got is I went to our local sweet shops, I canvassed the shops as well in
Holland?
no.
There's a sweet shop. I
in
was
my
concerned
ward.
what sweets he was buying.
And the council told him to take his chairs off the pavement
Yeah.
because he ain't got authority to put them there. He said, well, because they're obstructing the pathway. So he sent a letter back saying, when are you going to remove the post box then? Which is stuck in the middle of the path.
Well, the idea of making the
I said, well, we'll look at that if I get in, because,
Because it used to be.
you know, chairs
We have
galore in the
achieved.
town centre.
We have achieved one.
No, cafe culture.
Cafe
We haven't
culture.
got any cafes.
Well, no,
Well, we
No,
have
no.
got some.
Well, they're allowed to use the council.
Did you notice the other words that got put in Dunstable in Touch the other day regards their advantages of what they've done in the town? Is they said we've slowed the traffic down.
No,
I
we
read
stopped
that, I
it.
went, you slowed the traffic. Yes, you've created it to a standstill.
And then you make the
And
air worse.
then apparently they've slowed the traffic down. It's improved the air quality.
Yeah.
No, because if you look, well, it's not quite the town centre, but Boscombe Road, when you come down the bottom of Boscombe Road, and you come along Lowther Road, there's actually an air quality sensor on one of the posts, on one of the lamp posts there, just outside the 6 houses next to Market Cross. You know where Market Cross is?
Yeah.
There are 6 houses, then there's Bramley.
Yeah.
Now, there's an air quality sensor there, and there's a little chart below it, and the colour always is on red. And red
Which means it's not good.
it means it's very high. And it's never going to change while we keep on having HGVs going past it all the time.
It may,
And it's the same sort of thing in the town centre. If you keep traffic in the town centre by slowing it down, and you make sure you've got lots of traffic lights which keep it stopped, you'll increase your
Air quality.
this is the thing with the traffic lights. For 90% of the time, the traffic in Dunstable is such that without any lights, it would just flow.
Yeah.
Maybe
know that.
5 or 10% of the time, we would have blockages, but at the moment, it's blocked for about 40% of the time. So you're going to improve air quality substantially by letting the traffic flow. And I have noticed, I think the reason the benches got put in, because some blind people annoyed Nigel Young.
I haven't got all his throat yet.
I'll put some benches in there, mate. This will teach him to annoy you.
No, it was.
My daughter is completely black-blind. She's walked into those things twice. Carol Hegley told me they would be moved for a matter of urgency. That was in February. Still
They're still
there.
there, aren't they?
Yeah, they're all still
Know
there.
that.
Yeah, but
You've got to define it.
it's like the arrows.
Yeah.
John went to CBC and sort of said, look,
Was it you? I saw that was on social media. Yeah.
here's a couple of petitions. One, we like the new arrows on the road, 15 votes. 2, we don't like the new arrows on the road, like the old ones, 1,367. And he stood in front of CBC and sort of went, you know, come on, this isn't slightly one way or the other, this is overwhelmingly. And it's like, right, so cover up the filters, paint the road, what, an hour?
Easy,
You
yeah.
know, couple of lads, an hour. Well, it's very
Get
complicated.
the software from Milton Keynes, they run their traffic lights, and Bob, you're on.
But what I don't understand
you
is
know,
they're not
that's what I
doing the other
said.
Milton
three.
Keynes works
They're only
fine.
doing
It's
one.
not simple. Yeah, Milton Keynes has got a lot more roads.
Yeah, but the one thing is that they're all the same. One entrance goes at a time, so you've got no obstruction. You know, you don't make, you go left, straight on, right, stop. Next one does
Oh,
left,
central
straight on,
yeah.
right, no problem. And that's the simple way. Where you've got oncoming traffic, it ain't going to work.
Well, that's how it worked before. We had before they did all this, you had one go at a time.
Yeah, but you tended to have going straight on and then a filter as well. But at least you've got a filter. Coming south, you haven't got a filter at all.
So what I'm saying is
Now,
before they
filter.
changed the crossroads,
Yeah.
we did have it as one
at a time.
one entrance go at one time. What they said they were going to do is have it a better flow, but what they've actually created by reducing lanes
Bottlenecks.
is you've got actually a more the traffic is basically just sitting there longer.
And the right thing to do now is nothing until we know what the people want.
Yeah.
And we should have a proper survey,
And if they need to, put temporary lights in and do.
or just
Assess
turn the
it
lights
over a
off and
month.
put the oil drum back and say that we're
Now, did you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
Go back the way it was fine.
Yeah, but did you know, if you're in High Street South wanting to turn into Church Street,
Yeah.
right? And you've got traffic that's coming from High Street North towards you. There are a number of problems. One is that
Well,
the
there
traffic light post is too low. You've got
There is a-
anything
there is a
above a
blind
single
turn.
decker is locked in. But I couldn't understand, why was this filter not working?
One has got a filter.
Wait a minute. Yeah, there is a filter, but why was it not always working? And then I found out, Gloria told me. Did you know there's a sensor in the road,
Yeah, well,
and you need to move your car forward,
Hmm.
and then that will
You have to
make
be
the
right in
filter
line.
come on. But the reason you don't move your car forward is because you can't
Yes,
see, and it's dangerous, so you don't. And I said to her, so if we move forward, it'll bring the filter on, which means we can cross safely, but we have to put ourselves in a dangerous position.
Work like
to
that.
put
No,
the
it should be, if you're in the right hand lane, it should.
No,
set the
it's
filter
not.
up
It's
and then-
actually on the
No.
road in that bit in the middle.
Saying that, it's a bit like the filter we've got on top of
So,
A5.
why-
Who knows about that one?
My investigations of this, my camera's now gone off for testing in the States. That's for proper validation, because I want to put one in your car, count cars, it has to be certified. But while I was doing that, I came across this Canadian company, and for £6,000 they'll sell me a camera that's got a pole and batteries and records, and will count traffic, identify vehicles, not ANPR, nothing illegal. And I thought, well, as a council, what would be wrong with having 10 of them? Then you can set them up there and there and there and there and there, and work out what the traffic is actually doing as it goes through. All the guys coming up here, where are they going? Are they going through Dunstable, or are they actually going to other streets in Dunstable? Because if they're going to other streets in Dunstable, Matthew Street, Britain Street, and all these places, well, you're never going to affect that traffic, are you? Because it's not through traffic. And we could actually study what's actually going on. Once you actually know what's going on, you can then make an accurate model of how any traffic system will react. And say, right, this is the best solution for Dunstable. Then you can take it to the people and say, that will actually fix the problem as best it can be fixed.
That sounds a bit like sensible to me.
Yeah, it is a bit.
Yeah, it can make too much sense.
That's a bit concerning, isn't it?
60 grand, and then you've got the
Bit
10
too
cameras
sensible,
forever.
this one.
So having done it here, you can then take them off to Sandy and say, well, we'll have a
Somewhere else, yeah.
When a certain person sorted all this out, did he just go to another company and they did it?
No,
I
what
don't
he did
know.
was, what's the worst possible situation I could have? I could do that. Well, I'll take one step back from the worst possible situation. I think that's what he did. So they're only one step away from the most worst possible
Because he
situation.
also did the Green Wave, you do know that.
God.
Yeah, you would think he designed all this with dice, wouldn't you?
So you would have thought he'd learned a lesson from the Green Wave, wouldn't you? Because the Green Wave put that set of traffic lights up there by the Norman King,
Police code
which
of
meant the
conduct.
hotel stopped. The hotel went nowhere, so in the end, Bedfordshire Police had to go to them and get them turned off. They were never put back on again. And I think it was something like 10k it cost to put them there for one day and then take them
It
away.
was the chief constable who covered up.
Green Wave,
Yeah.
supposed to
But
be
that was certain person's same idea, Green Wave. We keep all the traffic outside Dunstable and we let it wade through the town, so we don't get any hold-ups.
Annoying the traffic. This is what I'm saying. Annoying the traffic, frustrating the traffic, has so many counterproductive effects that it's the worst possible approach. If you can please the traffic, flow the traffic, get it out of the way, you'll get the best possible result. You'll get calmer drivers, you can convince the driver. You can say, look, we get you through Dunstable now in 10 minutes. It's wonderful.
Because
Don't
I
run
might want to go
anyone
into
over.
town. You know, I might want to go into town if I could get there.
Well, free parking, Waitrose, M&S, these sort of things. Nicer shop fronts. Why shouldn't the council have an input? I'm not saying command people, but have an input into what the shop fronts look like. So when someone says, I want it to look a complete mess, the council will say, well, it would be nicer if you
Well, I've got better keeping cards for this.
Well, actually, we've had the High Street Heritage Action Zone, and that came in 2019, but it finishes next year. And unfortunately, well, with all of those, they've gone to all of the shops that are within the town centre and said, basically, we'll redesign you a nice shop front, we'll cover, I think it was about 70% of the cost, but will you put in the rest? And the problem is, for most of the people who run those shops, they're only renting it. And so the people who own the building, they're not interested, and they've just said to the people who rent the shop, well, you pay for it. But of course, if you've only got like maybe a 10-year lease and you're only 5 years into it, then they're saying, if we put this money into it,
We're really back.
are we going to get it back? And they said no. So really, it's kind of like,
Shot themselves in the foot, don't really, isn't they?
well, no, it's a nice idea, but unless someone pays the whole whack, then you're not really going to get it done. And Moores, for example, the old Moores building, they offered them free architects drawings. They offered them.
They wouldn't take it up, would they?
No, they just didn't want to take it up because they wanted to do it their way, and therefore it's just stayed the way it is. Pizza Roma or Tilly's the Butcher, which is right next to Taylor's.
When it's like,
Yeah, now the people who own that, or the company that own that, they don't want to sell it because they think eventually it will go up in value. But unfortunately it's so decrepit, and because it's a very old building, it's kind of listed, So,
Listed, it's structurally.
yes, but
The thing is, it can still be listed, that's something about it.
it's
I
actually a
thought
medieval
they said
building.
that they had actually got an agreement on that.
No, we haven't got an agreement on it yet,
It's
but it's
got
actually a
to be
medieval building.
character.
So the person who, the people, the company that owns it, they valued it at something like £900,000. And unless someone's going to buy it for that money, they're not going to do it. They're not going to sell it.
How
So-
far back does it go then? Is it like one of those deceptive Mayfair properties? Does it just go on and on and on or something?
No, it's not that, but it's some of it dates back to the medieval period.
Yeah, but how did
It is
What's
listed.
the situation?
I know it
When does
is.
it get to a stage?
It's actually
where-
bolted. I think it's
There
actually
must be
bolted
something
to the
in
other
the law
building.
that legally they can say that building's
Something
unsold.
on the High Street South.
You're gonna have, you're gonna knock it down a wee bit. Because sooner or later, that intervention, that's gonna fall down. So it becomes dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're there.
Yeah.
I think CBC should be stepping in and,
They're not going to burn it down then, like Northern King.
No, it's too late.
we've tried that, it won't catch fire.
That actually was an ex-member of staff that did that.
How much do you
It
get
was
paid to
nothing
do
to do with the actual pub, it was an ex-member of staff. He's actually been potted for it.
Yeah, I know his name as well.
What they're trying to do, what they're actually trying to do with that building is, Heritage England like to get buildings like that where they can use it as a training ground for all of the new people who are learning the old crafts, using old tools for repairing
Old buildings.
And so what they'd like to do is they'd like to take it over. So what they're trying to do is get enough money to make a reasonable offer to buy the building, and then say, look, if they can put all that package together, make a reasonable offer. If the owner still says no, I'm not going to sell it, then they're going to. I think what they may do is go through legislation to try and make it compulsory.
Do something like
Yeah,
a
it's got to be
compulsory
something,
purchase thing on it.
yeah, to make up for it could be a danger. Yeah, that's what I was getting
It
at.
is a time.
It isn't, yeah, I'd say.
Yeah,
it
There
is.
is apparently.
Do you want to stand by it? I don't.
Apparently, there is a council. I think it's in Norfolk, or it might be Lincolnshire, that did something similar with a similar building, and trying to investigate what they did in order to put this through. And of course, like all these things, it just takes time.
So, but again, the way you get that done is you get the council officers onto it, because they've got the power to they know the other council.
Yeah.
So they can go and actually get it done. Get them interested, and they can do that quite quickly. If they're not interested,
It's getting them on board, really.
yeah, I phoned them, I didn't get through.
Who's responsible for that? What have you done to a town council or central beds?
Central beds.
Central beds, yeah.
It's funny, you know, because in London, in Camden in particular, Camden, once a councillor contacts any department, they tremble, they're like, the owner, so-and-so councillor just called, they've written about, you know, someone's complained and, you know, you have to be on it straight away, you know, they expect you, you know, no waste of time, but here it sounds like,
No, it shouldn't be like that, should it?
My-
It
no,
shouldn't
well,
be.
I don't think so either, but their knees knock when the councillor contacts us.
But there again, you've got borough councils in London, like you have in Luton, you've got a borough council.
Yeah.
Whereas here we've got a town council,
Yeah.
which is
Actually,
only responsible for its public
Yeah.
buildings and parks.
This is where
Whereas central beds are responsible for all the other buildings.
my feeling is. We've got to empower the council officers, make them feel strong and confident about making the right decision for themselves, and then back them, because they will make the odd wrong one,
Yeah.
which won't matter in the overall scheme of things if the council then go, it's all right, it's a bit of a mistake, it's not a problem, it's the same bloke as last time, we know.
When you
But-
say council officer, do you mean
Well,
any
yes.
given council officer for
Someone-
that particular department?
I mean, any given
Yeah.
council officer on any given subject.
Yeah.
So someone who's employed to
Yeah.
to carry out the.
Just checking, that's what I thought.
So the leading council officers are civil servants.
Yeah.
Whereas there are other people who work for the council who are staff or general
Or
workers
council employees.
or council employees.
Even civil servants are
And
staff.
the problem you've had with Central Beds Council in particular, I wouldn't really say it's over the town council, but Central Beds Council in particular, is that the political party that has been in power for ever since Central Beds Council was created have used that political influence
Yeah.
to force the officers to do things the way they want it done. Whereas if we can get an independent majority, then we can say, no, you know, you are qualified officers. You should know what you're doing. So let's leave it to you. You come up with we'll come up with the ideas. You implement them. But we're going to put them through a vote, of course. We'll have to scrutinise what you're doing.
We'll check what you're doing, but you get on with it and we'll back it. And I think it's led to some really crass moves. There's a thing called New Vista Homes. It's a company that the Central Bedfordshire Council are running. But they've done a crazy thing and put some politicians from a certain party on the board of directors. And I'm like, do you not realise how stupid that was? Why didn't you go and pick one of the independent guys and the Labour guy and the Conservative?
Yeah.
Why didn't you pick one from each?
Yeah. No.
Why have you picked three of your own? Do you not realise how it looks? And they're so insensitised to how people see things.
Well, they just know they can get away with it.
Well, we questioned them.
Does it smack of corruption at all?
No.
They don't.
No.
But when we first say to them, do you not think that looks a bit suspicious? No.
But the other thing is,
one as well.
but yeah, they've set up three private limited companies, and the problem with that is that once you put money into a private limited company, you don't actually have to do anything. Well, that private limited company only have to give you the bottom line of their accounts that they put on Companies House. If they say miscellaneous expenses, well, you never know what that is. And the problem is they've said recently that they're going to be putting over the next 4 years, if the Conservatives are in power, £40 million into these companies from Central Bed's funds, which is basically your council tax.
Oh, from our money.
Yes. So at the moment,
To put that into context, the
town
road
council,
bill and the police bill come to about 20 million.
but at the moment, if you
So
go to the
it's
town
more
council
than
and
that to
say,
this private company.
if you wanted to find out how much it will cost for this mover to be built, the town council have it in their records, and you can look through it because it's a town council. If you put money into a private limited company, they don't have to show you their accounts.
That's right.
And when they put something on the Companies House, they only have to give a summary. So
who's shown as the shareholders of the private limited companies? They should have share.
Central Bedfordshire Council.
well, the shareholders are Central Bedfordshire Council. Yeah.
So in reality,
directors
then,
are-
the council should ask the Central Beds Council then to release that account.
Yeah, but the directors are two Conservative councillors.
And so we don't want to do that.
If we get enough independence,
So we can
I
tell
think we
them
might go and have a little open book session, shall we call it?
You should be able to,
Anyway, I'm gonna have to.
if it's
Yeah, I'm going to make a
money,
move as well. I
then-
think you
Help
probably
stack his
tonight
chairs
anyway.
up.
Ladies
Should
and
we say
gentlemen,
this meeting's finished?
thank you for coming.